Okay, now we are joined by a legendary commentator. You might hear her on Channel 9's Wide World of Sports coverage of the Suncorp Super Netball, Sue Gaudion. Sue, thank you for joining us on the Centre Pass podcast.
Well, if you're going to call me a legend, I'm happy to come any day of the week. Thank you very much.
We're happy to have you on any time, and if we have to call you a legend to get you on, that's what we'll do. First, we just want to know a little bit about the Wake Up Netball campaign.
Yeah, it's something that started just before the round one of the Suncorp Super Netball season this year, and it was just a moment I had in the week leading up to the first game where I just was getting a bit of a sense that there was some real negativity on the social media trail around some changes that were being made going into the season. One in particular was around the bonus point. It was just this sort of, I don't know, lack of trust in the sport and just some real negative comments, and it just frustrated me. And I'd come from a meeting earlier that week with Channel 9 where they were talking about how proud the sport of netball is to be boasting 1.2 million registered players, but Channel 9 was saying, how do we convert those to viewers on our screen and filling stadiums and so forth, given that probably only 10% of those people were tuning in on a regular basis in season 2017. And I just felt that netball was missing the mark. We were quick to yell and scream, but we're not really great to quickly switch on and support or turn up and sit in a seat at a stadium. So I went to Facebook and put a video out, and it certainly gained some social media traction, and it's sitting over 100,000 views, 110,000 views or something as we speak. And we sort of breached the Wake Up Netball from there, and it's just sort of grown legs, which is great, but let me tell you, it is nowhere near where it needs to be. It is simply just a start. We have a long journey ahead to continue to wake netball up.
Yeah, of course. That being said, the games are live on Channel 9 on Saturdays and Sundays, but a lot of juniors are actually playing on Saturdays and unable to watch. How do we make those live game times more accessible to the players and coaches, umpires, spectators, who are there on those Saturdays but still keep a primetime TV slot?
Yeah, it's a, you know what, let me break the question down to a couple of things. So, number one, we've been taking the ratings over the first, 4 rounds and checking them. And at the moment, we know that there are 2 live games with Channel 9 on a Saturday at 3 o'clock and then again on a Sunday at 1 o'clock. And, of course, we're hearing people scream at the very thing that, we're playing on a Saturday, we don't get to watch it, etc. But at the moment, the ratings are heavily in favour of the Saturday time slot. So our best ratings after 4 rounds sit with a higher viewership on a Saturday. So it's intriguing. So those people that are screaming, they need to get to the Sunday 1 o'clock time slot and turn the TV on. Number 2, obviously we have Telstra TV on board as a partner, and you can, if you're a Telstra customer, then you can get the Telstra TV box and watch any game live at any time. And if not, you've got the Netball Live app, which you can download and watch any game live at any time. But the other beauty of it is ratings are done in a number of different ways, and Channel 9 in particular have their streaming services with 9 Now, and you can stream the additional games that you don't see 4 hours after they've been played. So whilst it's not live, there is an avenue for you to still see them. And for those that are just simply occupied over the weekend, 9Gem show all the games throughout the week on their station. So whilst we're not in a position at this point in time to have the great luxury of 4 games live at the best time slot on the weekend that suit everybody, there is a way in which everybody can help wake up netball and turn a TV on at some stage to either watch a game live, stream it or replay it. And that's what we need people to do in the short term, because once we get people on board in that capacity, then we've got some room at the boardroom table to try and shift, I guess, the discussions around when netball should be shown.
So besides from the TV side of netball, how do you think we get more people involved in grassroots level and keep that participation going to make it such a dominant sport in Australia?
Yeah, I think we're sitting reasonably comfortably at that at the moment. Our grassroots rates are fantastic. The sport is very accessible at the grassroots level. I think the key is that we have to link the elite down to the grassroots and vice versa. And I think we're not doing that as well as we could as a sport at the moment. And I've spoken about this probably since the campaign, if we call it a campaign. I'm not sure that I started this for it to be a campaign, but we're calling it a campaign now. But I think this started for me over the last 3 weeks. What I've sort of noticed is we've got to get better at encouraging people to barrack, I guess, for a team. So I use the example that, you know, whenever it is that Australia and New Zealand play off against each other at international netball level, not only those that love netball, but actually those that sit outside of the general netball viewers tend to engage in that, because naturally there is a terrific rivalry between Australia and New Zealand. And of course, if you're Australian, you know straight away who you're barracking for, and the same as for the Kiwis. So we get this natural barracking and parochial status whenever those games are played. How do we then carry that down to our domestic competition? And I think one thing is we've got to raise a far greater awareness at grassroots level. So as all of these kids are starting to choose to play the game of netball when they first grow up, and there's plenty of products for them to get involved, be it Net Set Go or through their school program or whatever, we have to have them being aware of the club team that they're going to support in their domestic league. So if you're in Western Australia, you're supporting West Coast Fever, and so on and so forth. So we have to get better at that, and I think that's hitting mums and dads. I think the mums and dads need a far greater awareness, and I think that's probably the level that we're missing at the moment. I think we pitch pretty hard down below, and we pitch pretty hard up the top, but I think we've got to start hitting right down the middle at the mums and dads and getting them parochial involved, because you know what, when I grew up as a kid in Melbourne, the first thing my mum and dad told me was, you'll barrack for the Richmond Football Club in AFL. And I had no other choice. And, you know, I'm a proud Richmond supporter to this day. That's what we want our parents telling our kids. You will barrack for the Vixens, you will barrack for the Giants. I think that's where we've got to get to.
What other steps do you think we need to take to try and create that sort of cult following around netball like the AFL has?
The most difficult thing, guys, is a lot of awareness comes from dollar. I mean, it is a hard, fast reality. And, you know, the AFL have the great luxury, and we often compare ourselves to them, and probably shouldn't, because we don't sit as a sport anywhere near the level of income and expenditure that they have. But I guess you always try to look at the best and see how you can, and you know, can try and achieve that. So the AFL have an enormous marketing budget. You know, their broadcast rights are just extraordinary, and that streams a lot of dollar into their pockets, and therefore they're able to market their game unbelievably. We see, you know, every TV you turn on, there's some sort of TV show on whatever station or Foxtel or whatever it is. We just don't simply have that. And I guess for me, that's where the Wake Up Netball, I guess, campaign, for me, is really important, because what I'm trying to do is use the free platform of social media to engage our netball fans to understand, right, that we can simply open our mouths for free and use that as a marketing tool to wake up people. I think that if we focus on our 1.2 million people, and I know there's a lot of other people that are invested and engaged in netball outside of that 1.2 million, but if we can focus on the 1.2 million and really push to raise their awareness through our own mouths and social media and convert them to becoming our marketing tool, we don't need the budget of AFL. And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to plead to the netball converted to convert others. And how to be converted? You need to engage. Turn up to the games, put your bums on seats, and go and watch the best product in the world. And at the same time, when you can't do that, turn your TV on whenever you can and tell everybody about it. That's free marketing. So I sort of don't want to stem outside that. I think we've got a terrific avenue. And I think we've got some phenomenal mouthpieces out there, but we've just got to keep raising their awareness.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the big factors in the Wake Up Netball, I think this round especially, were the tattoos that we saw a couple of the players wearing throughout the round. How much of an impact do you think those tattoos have on the campaign?
Yeah, look, we've already had some social media traction about that. It was terrific to see the players. I was aware of it. We set it up, but I didn't announce it to anybody, and I think it's just showing that beyond the people out there, that the players and the actual competition itself, Suncorp Super Netball, you know, everyone's engaging in this Wake Up Netball. We're all starting to be educated about the importance of waking up the sport. We're not in a bad position. Don't get me wrong. Netball's in a very healthy position, but I don't think we have the ability to rest on our laurels. We're in a really competitive market now, and if we don't do something now, I'd hate to get to a boardroom table down the track as a sport where we are in a position to negotiate and not be in our best position to do that. So I think the players engaging with the tattoos in round 4 was terrific, and I can tell you that we've got something massive coming up in the next couple of weeks. That involves the players. That's going to be huge. I can't say anything more about it, but as I said, the wave is building, and more people are jumping on board. And my hat goes off to every player that's putting their hand up to be involved. It's terrific.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So over in the UK, Sky are giving away 5,000 tickets to women's sporting events. Do you think something similar would help to draw more community netball players and the general public to the games, or encourage them to watch more regularly?
Yeah, it's a catch-22 really, because if you look at the example with Sky over in England, the problem that England currently have is they just don't get bums on seats in stadiums. I mean, we're pretty proud of our bums on seats. At the Giants game, they've got over 10,000 people. I mean, they're getting more people to a netball game inside a stadium than some of the NRL games are getting to a massive stadium. So, we need to be proud of our numbers. The West Coast Divas sold out their stadium on the weekend. The Vixens membership is absolutely huge. But what we want to do is make sure that we've got sold-out stadiums absolutely every week, so that there are people standing out the front dying to get in. This is a massive message. The reason why the UK are doing what they're doing is because they are behind where we are currently at with our competition. So if that's the way they need to get their people in the door, albeit that's fantastic. I think if you go back 10 to 15 years in our domestic competition, even back to the Commonwealth Bank Trophy as it was back then, where the Perth Orioles and, those teams existed, we used to do that. We used to give away thousands of free tickets, but I think we're past that now. I think we've professionalised our sport, and we can't afford to be having a product where free tickets are just thrown away willy-nilly. I think we've just got to keep encouraging people to want to invest in the product, and I think that's where our sport sits comfortably.
Looking more closely at our game in particular, what is your perception of the bonus point, and do you think it adds anything to the game?
I'm probably not the person you need to ask, because I am 100% converted, so I'm not going to give you anything negative about it. I absolutely love it. I was just having a discussion late last night about it with somebody. I think it's been intriguing. I look at the ladder every week. The amount of movement we're getting on the ladder from round to round is so significant. You don't know who's going to be in the top 4 from week to week, and I think that keeps a massive level of interest to the fans, and this is about engaging fans. As far as I'm concerned, the players still go out in the court and do what they want to do every week. That is win every quarter and win every game. That doesn't make any difference. And there's been a little bit of backlash about the fact that maybe some of the players that don't get regular court time may not get the opportunity to play. But I think that myth is completely out the window after 4 rounds. All sides are exercising their right to use players as and when necessary. And I think that's just, to me, that's just hot air that needs to go away. I believe that the bonus point has brought excitement in commentary. I certainly love commentating about it. I think that there's been a few games, in particular the one I called on the weekend, which was West Coast against the New South Wales Swifts. The game was won at three-quarter time, but the Swifts fought so hard that they actually won the final quarter. And we kept everyone's focus completely on that final moment, and the Swifts headed home with 1 bonus point, which is critical in the scheme of things for them. So I think there's a great amount of intrigue about it. We're hearing people talk about the fact that it's not just about their team winning, but how many quarters their team has won, or looking at the fact that the Thunderbirds at the moment, not only haven't they won a game, they haven't won a quarter yet. So, there's some real interest and intrigue about it. I think it's going to toss up a few interesting scenarios the longer the season goes on. But for me, there's been nothing negative about it.
Just with your commentary, what kind of difficulties, if any, have you faced being a female sports commentator?
The female sports commentator, not a great deal of them, to be honest, in the world of netball, given we are dominated by females. So I think I've had a nice run. I started on the sideline as a female commentator, and made my way into being an expert and now sit as a host and caller and thoroughly love it. You get a bit of backlash every once in a while on social media, but, I love it, and I go straight back to anyone that has a crack. So I really believe netball has been, a front runner in offering opportunity for females to be involved. And certainly since being involved with Channel 9, you can see how 9 are trying to broaden, our commentary exposure. We've got some male talent in now, and of course they're network people, or they're very high-profile people in their state, and we need to do this to broaden our appeal. The Liz Ellises, the Sue Gaudions, the Sherelle McMahons, Annie Sargent, the Catherine Coxes, we appeal to the netball market, but we also have to, as a sport, market to the broader community. And I think bringing in some of the names like Clint Stanaway, and of course you've got Warren Treadray, a former AFL great in Adelaide. These sorts of people, when people turn the TV on that don't know netball and identify with these faces, they actually want to stay and engage in the sport. So I think Channel 9 have been really clever in the way that they're trying to slightly manipulate the commentary team as a whole, but at the end of the day, we're still heavily dominated by females and experts from the sport, and I think it's great.
Yeah, perfect. And just one final question. We're 4 rounds into the season. At the moment, who is your tip to come out on top at the end of the 2018 Suncorp Super Netball season?
Oh, gee. Hardest question you've asked me today. Really tough. This season, and the teams, I know, look, we can probably eliminate the Thunderbirds. They're having a tough run. Their season's going to be tough the entire year. They'll improve, and they may steal a win or two, but we can count them out. I reckon the next 7 teams are well within reaching the top. At the moment, you would have to put probably the West Coast Fever, the Vixens, and the Giants as front runners. But that said, I have no confidence in saying any one of those, and that is hand on heart. If you really want me to pick one, I honestly couldn't, because week in, week out, you're just seeing such a shift and change in results. And I reckon the next 3 weeks is pretty telling. There's some big clashes coming up over the next 3 weeks. I reckon at about round 8, if you ask me that question again, I might sit a bit more comfortable in giving you an honest response.
Well, we might have to have you back after round 8.
That's all right, I'll come back, yeah, why not?
Yeah, I think that's a really great thing for the league to have 7 teams really all vying for those top positions. And just finally, we do thank you for joining the podcast today, and we wish you the best of luck for the rest of your season commentating.
Thank you very much, and what a pleasure it is to see some young guys like you trying to raise the awareness of our sport and support it. Terrific. My hat goes off to you. Well done.